Episode 6. Sabbath is before sin, before Jews, before Moses. The common claim that the Sabbath is for Jews only crumbles when you open the first few pages of your Bible. Genesis 2:2-3 tells us that God created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh. He didn't just rest, he blessed the seventh day and sanctified it. There were no Jews yet, no Israel, no Moses, no Mount Sinai. There was only creation and the Sabbath. So who was the Sabbath made for? Jesus answers this directly in Mark 2:27. The Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Not for Jews, not for a tribe, but for mankind. That's why Hebrews 4:9 points backward to creation, not just to Sinai. Sabbatismos doesn't mean Jewish rest. It means God's eternal gift to humanity. It's a divine institution rooted in Eden, reaffirmed in the law, honored by the prophets, magnified by Christ, and upheld by the apostles. To say the Sabbath is just a Jewish tradition is to ignore the God who rested on the seventh day before sin ever entered the world. The Sabbath was made in perfection, not as a response to sin, but as a symbol of harmony. Moses didn't create the Sabbath. He reminded the people of what God had already made holy. Rejecting the Sabbath because it appears in the Old Testament is like rejecting marriage because Adam and Eve were the first to experience it. Should we abandon creation itself simply because it predates the covenant at Sinai? 10. Confrontational questions. If the Sabbath was created before sin, how could it be abolished because of sin? If Adam and Eve weren't Jews, why did God rest on their behalf? What nation existed in Genesis 2 when the Sabbath was sanctified? Why did Jesus say the Sabbath was made for man, not Jews? Can something blessed and sanctified by God in Eden be revoked by man in Rome? Why does Hebrews chapter 4:4 connect God's rest directly to creation? If the Sabbath is for Jews, why are Gentiles keeping it in Isaiah 56? Why is the Sabbath kept in the new earth, Isaiah 66:23, if it's just for Jews? If the 10 Commandments apply to all, why exclude the fourth? Did God make a mistake by blessing the seventh day before the fall? The Sabbath is older than sin, older than the law of Moses, older than the nation of Israel. It was created in a world without pain, sealed in the presence of God, and reserved for all mankind. When you honor the Sabbath, you're not embracing Judaism, you're returning to Eden. You're walking in the footsteps of your Creator. And that, dear reader, is a commandment worth remembering.